Good afternoon, everybody. This is our usual date right here in Israel Brief Central. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, brought to you as always by Lay of the Land, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines. And we're on day 62 of Operation Swords of Iron, or Israel's war with Hamas. So let's take a look at the top developments over the last 24 hours. And the army has pushed further into the south of Gaza, into Khan Yunis. Now, last night, Prime Minister Netanyahu said that the army is closing in on Yahya Sinwar. He is the mastermind behind the attacks on the 7th of October. And he is Israel's most wanted man. He's a dead man walking. Now, shortly after that, the IDF spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, said he can confirm that Sinwar is not underground. And he said, but I'm not going into any more detail. So we wait further confirmation from the IDF what is going on. And of course, we have to be very careful of news we consume and news we share. Let's always take news from official sources like the IDF. The IDF also published documents today that showed how Ismail Haniyeh, he's another one of Hamas's leaders, another dead man walking, how his son had spent thousands and thousands of dollars buying gold and jewelry. Now we can look at that and think what we like. Is it money laundering? Is it spending aid? But where is this massive amount of money coming from? The IDF also shared footage and exposed how terror groups within the Gaza Strip were firing rockets towards Israeli cities, specifically the southern cities of Beersheba, Hatzerim Air Base, which is in the Negev Desert, from within the humanitarian zones. Now, in many of the media around the world, there's heavy criticism for Israel for what they are calling high civilian deaths. Now, understand we don't know the exact number of civilian deaths because of the asymmetrical type of warfare that we're fighting, that Hamas has embedded themselves within their civilian infrastructure, using not just the infrastructure but the civilians themselves as human shields, which makes warfare very difficult. And of course, all those statistics come from Hamas themselves, who control the health ministry, and they make no distinction between civilian and combatant. So we still don't know, and we might not know those exact details for a while, but what we do know is how they are using their civilians as human shields, making this kind of warfare very difficult. A Palestinian woman was on camera to Al Jazeera saying how Hamas takes all the humanitarian aid that they are receiving and threatens to shoot them if they come for aid. So we are starting to see people in Gaza speaking up a lot more bravely to the international media, but of course it's always just simpler and lazier to just routinely blame Israel. There have also been reports that Hamas gave Israel intelligence on Palestinian Islamic Jihad, lulling Israel into a sense of believing that Hamas were not interested in any kind of conflict with Israel. They were receiving more financial benefits. There were more work permits being given to Gaza, and that was intelligence to deflect from their plans to commit the most horrific atrocity on the 7th of October. Today is the 7th of December. It is exactly 2 months since that day that we are calling Black Sabbath. The Lebanese authorities today accused Israel of war crimes and said that Israel had deliberately targeted and killed a Reuters journalist. Now, I'm a journalist myself. We understand that if you are a war correspondent and you do go into a war zone, you take a tremendous risk with your personal safety. The Israeli government spokesperson, Eilon Levy, reiterated that Israel does not target civilians. Nevertheless, Lebanese authorities are filing a complaint with the UN Security Council. Staying with the United Nations, Secretary General Antonio Guterres has invoked UN Charter Article 99. This is a very rare occurrence for a UN Secretary General, which he says calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. He's very concerned about the growing humanitarian crisis and the potential threat to international peace. I just wonder why he hasn't seemed to use this Article 99 before, where in other conflict zones where there are many, many, many more civilians that have been killed deliberately, unlike Israel that does everything we can to ensure that as few civilian casualties occur as possible. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I just think it's like some kind of bias. I don't know. Could be me. Tedros Ghebreyesus, head of the World Health Organization, which forms part of the United Nations, backed up the Secretary General. Now, while we're on the subject of Mr. Ghebreyesus and the World Health Organization, which also reminds me of the International Red Cross, I have just heard testimony from one of the doctors that is treating the hostages. He was speaking a short while ago on I24 News, and he was talking about the dire health situations for many of our hostages. Some of them are at risk for strokes, have developed heart conditions, have developed medical conditions. There are signs of torture, of psychological torture. He expressed grave concerns for those hostages still being held in captivity by Hamas. At least one hostage died as a result of not having access to his medication. We know that one hostage had his arm blown off. That is Hirsch Polin. We saw that footage. We know that women were sexually violated. It has also been confirmed, and this is very, very upsetting to talk about, that at least 10 hostages who have been released, both male and female, were sexually assaulted while in captivity. I want you to take that in, because if there's anybody out there that's buying the Hamas freedom fighter line, there is just a significant lack of moral clarity and personal ethics. Now that rant over, as I just said moments ago, it is the 7th of December. It is 2 months since the horrific massacre on the 7th of October. But tonight is also the first night of Hanukkah, the Festival of Light, meant to be a very joyous time. And I'm here in Modi'in. We're actually the city of the Maccabees, the heroes who are central to the story of Hanukkah. This is the city where, which is all about Hanukkah. And I know many of us are not feeling very joyous at the moment. It's hard to summon up that sense of celebration. But I want to appeal to you tonight as we light that first candle. Please light that candle for those who cannot light candles anymore. Let's light those candles for the 1,200 innocent people, innocent civilians, men, women and children slaughtered on the 7th of October. Let's light for those 137 hostages who are still being held in the darkness, in the tunnels and in captivity in Gaza. Let's light for our incredible soldiers, our brave men and women of the IDF, and also first responders working 24/7 to rid the world of Hamas and also ensure our safety and that this never happens again. Let's light that candle as a beacon of light to the world as anti-Semitism and darkness grows. And let's light that candle for each other so that you and I can give each other strength in this most difficult time. There's a famous song that says, "Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears." Many of you know that song, so let's take those words to heart. Let's take them on board. And please allow me to wish you and your families Chag Hanukkah Sameach, this festival of light. May we continue to bring light into the world. Now that's it from me until Monday. Please don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is at the Israel Brief. Our X site is at Lay of the Land 5. And of course, we're on Facebook at Lottel site. We look a lot like this. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief. Shabbat Shalom. Chag Sameach. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you again on Monday. Please take care of yourselves and take care of each other.